Hey there, future culinary masterminds. Ever thought about opening a restaurant in Virginia? Picture this. You, serving up your signature dish to a packed house in the heart of the Old Dominion. We've got a detailed blog post here that breaks down everything about making that dream a reality, and that's exactly what we're diving into today.
It seems like Virginia is becoming quite the foodie hub, wouldn't you say?
It really does. And this deep dive is all about giving you the insider knowledge to figure out if it's the right place for your restaurant dream. So first off, what makes Virginia such a hot spot for food lovers and aspiring restaurateurs?
Well, the source points to a few key factors. A diverse population with a growing appetite for different cuisines, a strong tourism industry bringing in hungry visitors, and a stable economy providing a solid foundation for businesses to flourish. In fact, did you know that restaurant sales in Virginia are projected to reach over $25 billion this year? That's a pretty tasty slice of the pie.
Wow, $25 billion. Now I really see those dollar signs. But what about the specifics of Virginia's food scene? Anything that sets it apart from other states?
One thing that stands out is the commitment to the farm-to-table movement. Over 70% of Virginia restaurants source ingredients locally. And it's not just a trend, it's a core value. Imagine having access to fresh, seasonal produce straight from nearby farms. It's a win-win. You get high-quality ingredients, support local farmers, and appeal to customers who are increasingly conscious about where their food comes from.
That's a great point. I'm already imagining partnering with a local farm for my produce, and maybe even featuring a Farmer of the Week on my menu. It's not just about the food, it's about the story behind it. But with all this talk about fresh ingredients and delicious dishes, I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed by the logistics of actually opening a restaurant. What are some common legal pitfalls that could trip up someone new to this?
You're right, the legal side of things can be daunting. One common mistake is not choosing the right business structure. Whether you go with a sole proprietorship, an LLC, or a corporation has major implications for your liability and taxes. We won't go into every detail here, but the source breaks it down really well. It's definitely worth a closer look before you get started.
I'm already seeing how much I don't know. So let's say we've got our business structure figured out. What about all those permits and licenses? It seems like a bureaucratic jungle out there.
It's true. There are quite a few permits you'll need to obtain. But instead of getting lost in the weeds, let's focus on the most crucial ones. The food establishment permit is non-negotiable. It's your ticket to legally serving food in Virginia. Then there's the ABC license if you plan to serve alcohol. That one can be a bit tricky and often takes longer to process. The good news is the source provides a handy checklist of all the required permits and even estimates how long it typically takes to get each one.
That checklist is a lifesaver. I can already see myself pinning it to my fridge as a constant reminder. So we've got our permits, we've chosen a location, now it's time to build the dream team.
Right. Hiring staff is exciting, but what are my legal obligations as an employer in Virginia?
That's an important question. In Virginia,
Yeah.
you're required to provide workers' compensation and unemployment insurance for your employees. It protects them in case of injury or job loss and ensures you're compliant with state regulations. It's actually a good thing for everyone involved.
It sounds like there's a lot to learn when it comes to navigating the legal side of things, but it's definitely better to be safe than sorry. I'm realizing that opening a restaurant isn't just about passion. It's about being informed and prepared for the challenges.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially in the restaurant industry. And the good news is, this deep dive is giving you the tools to build a solid foundation for your dream.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of Virginia's restaurant scene and tackled some of those legal hurdles. Let's move on to what might be the most important part of all, keeping people safe and healthy. You got it. Food safety should be at the top of your priority list. And it's not just about following regulations. It's about building trust with your customers and ensuring everyone have a positive dining experience. The source dives deep into food safety practices. And one thing it stresses is the importance of having at least one manager certified in ServSafe.
ServSafe, is that like a food safety superhero certification?
You could say that. It's a nationally recognized program that teaches your team everything they need to know about proper food handling, storage, and preparation techniques. It shows your customers you're serious about food safety and helps you avoid any potential health hazards.
I'm definitely adding Get ServSafe certified to my to-do list. It sounds like a smart investment in both my business and my peace of mind. Now, what about the kitchen itself? Any specific regulations I need to know about the layout and design?
Yes. Virginia has specific guidelines for kitchen layout to prevent cross-contamination and ensure a smooth flow of operations. For example, You'll need designated areas for food prep, cooking, dishwashing, and waste disposal. It's all about creating a system that minimizes risks and keeps your kitchen running like a well-oiled machine.
It makes sense. No one wants their delicious creation accidentally ending up next to the dirty dishes. So we've got the legal side, the safety measures, but what about the part that makes or breaks any restaurant, the finances?
Yes. The money matters. Get ready for some reality checks.
Yeah.
Because opening a restaurant in Virginia can be a significant investment. Rent alone can range from $3,000 to over $10,000 per month, depending on location and size. And then there's equipment, licenses,
Yeah.
inventory, staff, salaries. It all adds up quickly.
Okay, that's a pretty big gulp. I knew it wouldn't be cheap,
Yeah.
but those numbers are definitely eye-opening. Any tips on how to make sure I don't break the bank before I even open the doors?
One thing the source emphasizes is the importance of creating a detailed business plan that includes realistic financial projections. It's not just about how much money you need to get started. It's about forecasting your revenue, managing your expenses, and making sure you're on track to profitability.
I'm realizing that a good business plan is like a recipe for success. You need the right ingredients
Yeah,
and the right measurements to create something amazing.
exactly. And speaking of essential ingredients, there's one piece of technology that can be a real game changer for your restaurant: a point of sale, or POS system.
I've heard of POS systems, but to be honest, I thought they were just fancy cash registers. What makes them so important?
There's so much more than that. A good POS system can track your sales, manage your inventory, process payments, and even generate reports that give you valuable insights into your business performance. The source recommends choosing a system that integrates with your accounting software to streamline your finances from day one.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like having a digital brain that helps you keep everything organized and under control.
It's like having a sous chef who never takes a break and is always on top of the numbers.
Yeah, that's the kind of employee I need. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. The legal essentials, safety measures, and even some financial wisdom. But how do we get people excited about our amazing restaurant? Let's move on to the part where we turn legal brains into creative brains. Marketing.
That's right. All this hard work needs to translate into customers walking through your doors. And that's where a solid marketing strategy comes in.
So where do we even begin? Is it all about social media these days?
Social media is definitely important, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. The source really emphasizes the importance of building a strong brand identity. What's your restaurant's unique selling proposition? What makes you stand out in the crowded Virginia market?
I guess it's like asking myself, why should people choose Amoy Restaurant over all the other delicious options out there?
Exactly. It could be your farm-to-table focus, your unique cuisine, your exceptional service, or even your commitment to sustainability. Once you define what makes you special, you can build your entire marketing strategy around it.
I'm starting to see how a strong brand is like a secret ingredient that sets your restaurant apart.
It's the spice that makes your dishes unforgettable. And
Yeah.
once you've got that figured out,
Mhm.
you can start thinking about specific marketing tactics.
Okay, so what are the must-haves for a Virginia restaurant? Is it all about those fancy Instagram food photos?
Well, those photos definitely help,
Mm-hmm.
but there's more to it than that. The source highlights the importance of having a strong online presence, starting with Google My Business. It's basically your digital storefront, letting people find you easily on Google Maps and get all the essential information about your restaurant.
Right, because no one wants to play hide and seek when they're hungry. So Google My Business is a must. What else should be on my digital marketing checklist?
Don't forget about SEO, or search engine optimization. It's all about making sure your website shows up high in search results when people are looking for restaurants like yours.
So if someone searches for best brunch in Charlottesville,
Ah,
I want my restaurant to be at the top of the list.
exactly. It's a bit technical, but the source provides some great tips on optimizing your website
Mm-hmm.
and using keywords that will attract those hungry searchers.
This is all starting to feel a bit like a masterclass in digital marketing. But what about the good old-fashioned offline strategies? Are they still relevant in today's digital world?
Absolutely. The source stresses the importance of building relationships with your local community. Remember that whole farm-to-table thing we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Well, partnering with local suppliers isn't just good for your menu, it's good for your marketing too. It shows your commitment to the community and gives you a great story to tell.
I love that idea. Maybe I could host a Meet the Farmer event at my restaurant or feature a local brewery on tap. It's all about creating those connections and showing people you're more than just a business, you're a part of the community.
Exactly. And speaking of building relationships, Don't forget about the power of loyalty programs. It's all about making your customers feel valued and giving them a reason to keep coming back.
The source mentioned some cool ideas like digital loyalty apps that track points and offer rewards.
Those apps are a win-win. They're convenient for your customers and give you valuable data about their preferences and spending habits.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of information in this first part of our deep dive. From navigating the legal landscape to mastering the art of marketing. It feels like we've barely scratched the surface of the restaurant world.
We've definitely laid a solid foundation. But don't worry, there's more to come.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be talking all about those exciting grand opening strategies and the ongoing dance of staying compliant. Plus, we'll even touch on what it takes to build a restaurant empire with multiple locations.
We'll be back soon to help you turn those culinary dreams into a delicious reality. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of opening a restaurant in Virginia. I'm excited to continue our exploration of this culinary adventure.
Me too. Last time, we covered a lot of ground, from permits and licenses to marketing and finances, but now I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and dive into the exciting part, the grand opening.
That's the spirit. The grand opening is your chance to make a splash, introduce your restaurant to the world, and create a buzz that will have people lining up to get a taste of what you're cooking up.
It's like the premiere of a blockbuster movie, but with delicious food instead of popcorn. So how do we make sure our grand opening is a hit?
The source we're diving into has some great tips. One strategy that stood out to me is the idea of hosting a soft opening before the official grand opening.
A soft opening. That sounds familiar. It's like a test run, right? A chance to work out any kinks before the big day.
Exactly. It's like a dress rehearsal for your restaurant. You can invite friends, family, and even some local food bloggers or influencers to get a sneak peek at your menu and provide valuable feedback. It's a low-pressure way to fine-tune your service, make sure your kitchen is running smoothly, and get those first reviews rolling in.
I'm starting to see how a soft opening can be a real confidence booster. It's like getting a pep talk from your biggest fans before you step onto the big stage.
And speaking of fans, don't underestimate the power of social media to generate excitement leading up to your grand opening.
Right, because in today's world, if it's not on Instagram, did it even happen?
There's some truth to that. The source suggests partnering with local influencers who have a strong following in the food scene.
I can see how that would be a smart move. It's like getting a shout out from a celebrity chef, but on a more local and relatable level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the grand opening itself, think about offering some special promotions or discounts to entice those first-time customers.
Ooh, like a grand opening special menu with some of my signature dishes at a discounted price.
That's a great idea. Or you could offer a complimentary appetizer or a bonus loyalty points for those who dine with you during the opening week.
I love it. It's all about creating that buzz and giving people a taste of what makes my restaurant special. But once the confetti settles and the grand opening excitement fades, there's something else we need to keep in mind. Staying compliant.
You're absolutely right. The journey doesn't end with the grand opening. In fact, it's just the beginning. Staying on top of all those licenses, permits, and regulations is an ongoing dance.
It's a dance I don't want to mess up. So, what are the key things I need to remember to stay in the good graces of the Virginia authorities?
First and foremost, those permits and licenses we talked about earlier, they're not a one-and-done deal. Most of them need to be renewed annually.
Oh, wow. So it's like a yearly checkup for my restaurant, making sure everything is still in tip-top shape.
That's a great way to think about it. Mark those renewal dates on your calendar and set reminders so you don't risk letting anything lapse.
I can already see those reminders popping up on my phone. Renew food establishment permit. Don't forget the ABC license. It's all about staying organized and proactive.
Exactly. And of course, those health and safety inspections we talked about earlier, they're not just a one-time thing either. Be prepared for regular visits from the health inspector.
Okay, so those inspections are like pop quizzes to make sure I'm still paying attention in food safety class.
I like that analogy. Maintaining a clean and organized kitchen, keeping your staff trained on the latest safety protocols, and ensuring you're following all the food handling guidelines will go a long way in acing those inspections.
It sounds like consistency is key. It's not just about being good on inspection day. It's about maintaining those high standards every single day.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of consistency, make sure your employee certifications are up to date, especially those ServSafe certifications for your managers.
Right, because those certifications are like a food safety seal of approval. It shows your customers and the health inspector that you're committed to doing things the right way. But what about those of us with bigger dreams? What if I'm not content with just one restaurant? What if I want to build a whole empire of deliciousness?
Now you're talking. The source we're diving into actually touches on the exciting, albeit challenging, world of expansion. It's not for the faint of heart, but the rewards can be incredible.
I can only imagine the feeling of seeing my restaurant concept thriving in multiple locations. It's like watching your culinary children grow up and make you proud.
I love that image. But before you start dreaming of restaurant domination, there are a few things to consider. The source emphasizes the importance of carefully evaluating market demand in potential new locations.
Right. Just because my restaurant is a hit in Richmond doesn't necessarily mean it will be a slam dunk in Virginia Beach.
Exactly. Each location has its own unique demographics, culinary preferences,
Yeah.
and competitive landscape.
Yeah.
Do your research and make sure there's an appetite for your type of food in that new market.
So it's like finding the perfect recipe for each location. You need to adjust the ingredients and spices to suit the local palate.
And once you've found a promising location, the next hurdle is replicating your systems and processes. The source stresses the importance of creating detailed operational manuals and standardizing your recipes and procedures.
That makes sense. You want to ensure that the quality and experience are consistent across all your locations, whether someone is dining at your original restaurant or your newest venture.
Consistency is key for any successful multi-location business. And of course, expanding means a whole new round of permits and licenses for each new location.
Oh, no, not the paperwork again. It felt like I just conquered that mountain of forms.
I know it can feel daunting, but you've been through the process before, so you're already a pro. And the good news is that many of the licenses are similar across locations, so you'll be familiar with the requirements.
That's reassuring. It's like leveling up in the game of restaurant ownership. You face new challenges, but you're also armed with more experience and knowledge.
Exactly. And one last thing to consider when it comes to expansion is the financial investment. Opening multiple locations requires significant capital, whether it's through small business loans, private investors, or even exploring the possibility of franchising your concept.
Franchising. Now that's a whole other level of restaurant entrepreneurship. It's like taking my culinary creation and sharing it with the world on a grand scale.
It's definitely a big decision,
Yeah.
but it can be a powerful way to expand your brand and reach a wider audience.
Ah, okay. So we've gone from grand opening jitters to dreams of restaurant empires. It feels like we've covered every aspect of the restaurant journey in Virginia.
We've definitely packed a lot into this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored the legal maze, mastered the art of food safety, crunched the numbers, and even dabbled in the world of marketing and expansion. But before we move on to our final thoughts, let's take a moment to recap some of the key takeaways from this part of our journey.
I'm ready for a recap. It feels like my brain is bursting with new knowledge, and I want to make sure I've absorbed it all.
First and foremost, remember that the grand opening is just the beginning. Staying compliant with licenses, permits, and regulations is an ongoing process that requires diligence and organization.
Right. Those yearly renewals and regular inspections are like checkups for my restaurant,
Yeah,
making sure everything is still running smoothly and safely.
and when it comes to expansion, careful planning is essential. Evaluate market demand in potential new locations. Standardize your systems and processes,
Yeah.
and be prepared for a significant financial investment.
It's like taking a successful recipe and adapting it for a new audience. You need to make sure the flavors still resonate and the presentation is just as appealing.
That's a great analogy. And remember, whether you're dreaming of a single cozy cafe or a multi-location empire, the key ingredients for success remain the same: passion, knowledge, and a relentless pursuit of culinary excellence.
I'm feeling inspired and ready to take on the world, one delicious dish at a time.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the Virginia restaurant scene. We've walked through the legal hurdles, the safety checks, the marketing maze. It's been quite a journey.
It has been a culinary adventure, hasn't it? We've explored the ins and outs of opening a restaurant in Virginia, from the first flicker of an idea to the grand opening celebrations, and even the ambitious dreams of expansion.
But now, it's time to step back from all the details and ask yourself the most important question. Is Virginia truly the right place for your restaurant dream?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've laid out the facts, the opportunities, the challenges, but
Yeah.
ultimately, the decision is yours.
It's like we've given you all the ingredients, But now it's up to you to create the recipe that works best for you.
Exactly. Think about what you've learned about Virginia's restaurant landscape. Does the farm-to-table movement resonate with your culinary vision? Do the diverse demographics and adventurous palates inspire you to create unique and innovative dishes? Maybe you're drawn to the charm of a historic town, or the vibrant energy of a bustling city. Or perhaps you're envisioning a cozy neighborhood spot where you can build a community around your food.
Whatever your vision is, trust your instincts. This deep dive has given you the tools and knowledge to make an informed decision.
And remember, even if you decide Virginia isn't the right fit right now, the knowledge you've gained from this deep dive is invaluable. The principles of business planning, marketing, financial management, and customer service are universal.
Absolutely. These skills will serve you well no matter where your culinary journey takes you.
So, what are your final words of wisdom for our aspiring restaurateurs?
Don't be afraid to dream big, but also be realistic about the challenges. Surround yourself with a supportive team. Stay curious. Never stop learning. The restaurant industry is constantly evolving, so be adaptable and embrace the changes.
And most importantly, never lose sight of your passion for food and the joy of creating memorable dining experiences.
Well said.
Yeah.
Go forth and conquer those kitchens. We can't wait to see what culinary delights you bring to the world.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the Virginia restaurant scene. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. Remember, opening a restaurant is a challenging but incredibly rewarding endeavor. And armed with the knowledge and insights from this deep dive, you're well on your way to turning your culinary dreams into a delicious reality.